Hello everyone, nice to meet you all. This side Ridhima Chaplan. I have been working as a technical recruiter. I am currently working with Pillow, and before that, I was working with Kojak, Swiggy, and White Hat. These were the companies that I was working with. Not really taking much of your time into the introduction. We'll step into the main agenda of today, like what is the main topic for today, and that is a very, very important topic, and that is how to prepare for a job interview in IT. So, this is something that I feel requires a lot of talking in terms of what you really have to do. I have seen a lot of people standing in terms of only the practical skills that they have, the technical skills. Definitely, that really plays a major role during the interview process, but there are a lot of other things that you have to really prepare for before cracking or stepping into an interview. So, we'll just start with the main pointers that will be covered. So we'll start with you have to basically be clear on the project's vision and motivation. So these are some of the very raw topics that you have to think for on the spot if you don't have an answer to that already prepared. So this is where it comes. Like you have to be very clear on the projects that you have done already. What is your vision? What is your motivation? We'll cover all those aspects further, that how we are going to talk about it. Then research the industry and the company that you are going to interview with. And further comes on work on the soft skills, show enthusiasm, be like clear on the perspective, what you want to do, what you are aspiring to be. And then further, write only what you have done in your CV. You don't really have to fake on the facts. Make sure you are writing on the things that you have already done and you have actually done. Mention on the ownership skills or the ways of working that you follow. That is going to give a lot of sense to the company that okay, this person works in this way, and they'll also try to adjust with your ways of working instead of you adjusting with their ways. So it's like both ends. The root is from both the ends. You have to make sure by telling everything that is required, every fact that you have to tell prior that is required. So last, practice, practice, practice. That really stands for any IT interview. You have to be clear on the technical skills that you have. The interview that you're, for example, we are going to interview for a developer position. So that's where you are supposed to be ready with the your coding skills, the coding quality, and the speed of coding, and the further things like the problem solving. These things will be covered, and you know that. Like low level design. These are some of the things that are going to take a part, but there is a cultural round that will also be there, which we'll talk about further. So, going ahead, the very important thing you have to be very clear on the project's vision or the motivation that you are having. So, it is very important that you are actually clear on the points or the projects that you have mentioned in your CV. So when I say be clear on the project, it's not that you are clear on what you have done. It's more towards like the questions that will be asked to you, that will be everything from your CV. So if you have mentioned about a particular project that you did or a volunteer work that you did or a job that you did, and you have added a little description to that, so the interviews will be all about that description. So they'll want you to talk about the projects that you have done. So you have to be very clear and you have to be very sure that the projects that you have mentioned, you have actually worked on that. And you are clear on owning the projects from the beginning till the end, what you have done. And further, be sure on mentioning your vision and mission. So what you really want to do. Show how your vision is resembling with the company's vision. You have to be sure that okay, if you are thinking to be a manager in some time, or if you're thinking to be a expert in your industry, so or be expert in the company or be a go-to person or something, whatever you aspire to be, so you have to make sure that vision is actually resembling what a company's mission is or the vision is, and talk about your future plans. So if you will talk about your future plans, the company is going to think in those terms that okay, if the person wants to be this at a later stage, we'll help him grow and reach that level. So this is something that the company will also do for you. So that's why mentioning about the future plans will give a perspective to the company that yeah, the person is very uh, like hardworking and is clear on the visions, is clear on his future plans. And what is your motivation behind getting this job? So obviously this question is very important, that will be asked to you in the recruiter screen itself, that why you are looking out for a change, or in case you are specifically targeting some companies, why are you targeting that specific company, what is your motivation behind the job change, and what are your expectations with the job change. So If you have to, if you're a fresher, so talk about what the company has been doing, talk about why this company only, and just make sure that you are aware of what the company is doing, what are the latest things that are happening. And these are some of the questions that will be asked during the cultural round or a non-tech round that comes after the all the technical rounds. This is one final round that happens, and it actually becomes a major blocker for anybody, as some of the questions are the ones that you can't really think of on the spot for. So that's where it comes from, that you have to be clear on these things, that you are actually targeting that company and what are the reasons behind that. Be sure to be aware of what is happening, what are the events that has the company has organized, or what were the key insights about the company. Further, going to research the industry and the company, as I was talking about. This is what you have to do. Any interview would contain some questions related to why you want to join or why this industry excites you. So you have to be sure about mentioning that, okay, why I am in this stream, and what are the reasons that I want to be in this stream. What are the reasons that I'm targeting this particular company? You have to be ready with the relevant answers to these questions. Some of these questions are there that you have to prepare for prior for any interview. It's specifically into IT. This covers a major part, as mostly it happens that the technical skills are something which are sorted and you are able to clear the rounds. But at the end, when cultural or non-tech rounds happen, that's where you're not sure on what to say. So that's why these are some of the things that you have to really prepare for before any job interview in specifically IT we are covering today. And check and read about the industry. If you have any data points that will give you a kind of a extra edge or a brownie point, you have to make sure to mention that. So if you see something, any data point that, okay, if you are targeting a particular industry and you see that industry is very flourishing these days, there are a lot of things that are happening in that particular industry, you talk about that, that we have a lot of growth opportunities, I am able to see those growth opportunities, and that's why I'm targeting this company and I want to go ahead and grow together with the company. So these are something that that you have mentioned, but make sure that the data that you are mentioning is not outdated and it's correct and is recent. So if you are mentioning something which is outdated, that is also going to leave a bad impact. So it's better to not mention in those cases. If you know something, then just feel free to mention that. Any latest news that you have heard about the company, or any new funding that has happened in the company that you're aware of, feel free to mention that thing. That will show that, yeah, you have done your research, you have done your homework, that yes, you have researched about the company well. Talk about the reasons, if any, as I said, any major event that has happened that has been organized by the company, check on the insights of that. So if any event has happened, what were the data points that came out from that event, and what was the result of that event? So make sure to just go ahead and note on those fronts so that you can go ahead and mention in the interview. In case anywhere there is a kind of a edge that they feel that the person is not really suitable for the company, but these things is going to give you extra brownie points, that you will be able to, you'll be like, okay, the person has done his or her homework. If there are some things that we have to teach, it's okay, we'll go ahead and do that for the first 2 3 months. So you'll get that extra edge over other candidates that the other candidates won't get if they are not aware of these pointers, basically. So work on the soft skills, show enthusiasm. Earlier it was not really a big thing. Most of the people in IT, like, they were not really focusing on the soft skills specifically. Soft skill really includes communication, ownership, these kind of stuff, which I can see most of the people are not really aware of these days, as these are very very important if you are really interviewing for a senior position, as you then you have to really mentor some people, and you have to be ready to speak, and you have to be ready with those skills. So in case you are targeting a senior position, even if you are not targeting, if you will show those soft skill, that is going to help you to gain that position at a later stage. So you have to show some enthusiasm towards the role that you are interviewing for, towards the company, towards the work that you have been doing, that you are happy about what you are doing. So that enthusiasm, that you are actually going on a right track, this is very very important. It's not really, earlier days it was not really a big thing, but now most of the companies have kept a cultural round or a non-tech round. That's where it's going to be tested, that if the person is really matching the culture of the company. Further goes in terms of the motivation. What is your motivation towards the company? Like, what is your motivation to work in this stream? So you have to be clear on what you are mentioning in terms of a motivation, as that is going to define a lot of things in the cultural front. As if you're mentioning that my motivation is growth, like I'm seeing the growth that I'll be able to see, I'll be able to get in the company. Those are going to give a very good impact. If you're mentioning something else which you feel that this is actually your motivation, feel free to mention that. Communication, as I said, if you are really trying to go for a management position, that's where communication is very, very important. Otherwise also communication is important to really have those discussions within the team. If you're having a meeting, talking within a meeting or talking within a group, these are some of the things that you have to be do you have to be sure that you are working on these soft skills from the early stage. For preparing for an interview, make sure you have some pointers noted with you already for the questions which are more on the cultural front, as you won't be able to think on that at the same point of time. So that's where what you are going to do. You have to note some pointers for yourself, that if you are being asked that particular question, just make sure to answer that in a like a positive way, and you have the answers already ready with you. This is something that you can really do for preparing interviews for the IT mainly. And then talk about ownership of the projects. So if you have really owned some projects and you have really mentored a team at a point of time, you have to really mention that fact, as if the person is interviewing for a position which is not really a management position, but when you talk about that you have experience of managing some people, so in case there is a management position available, they'll be able to offer you that. So it's very important to mention this thing, so that even if they don't have a position like that at that point of time, at a later stage if something like that opens, they'll target you first, that yeah, you have done that already, you have experience with that, and you have interest in managing people too. So managing the developers, managing the IT front, managing the IT people, managing the IT support team, whatever you are in, like what stream you are in, mention those things that you have done specifically for the projects. And then be honest about your knowledge. It's very, very important, as I talked about, like I just mentioned that thing in the very beginning, that you have to be clear on what you are mentioning. If you are mentioning about some particular tools and frameworks that you have not even worked with, and you are being asked a question in those, so that is going to leave a very bad impact. That's why just make sure any tools or frameworks that you are mentioning in your CV are really clear and correct. Further, going towards write only what you have done specifically, and mention the ownership skills and the ways of working you follow. So we have just talked about just a gist of that in the previous slide. Now we're going to go in the detail part. Never write anything in your CV that you have not done or you don't have experience with. As I said, that leaves a bad impact during the interview. So you have to be very honest on the knowledge. If you have handled a team, feel free to talk about it. As I just mentioned, that these skills are going to really work for you in a positive way. And then mention the ways of working you follow. This is very, very important. Like, talk about what excites you the most. So how do you distribute your day? How do you call a day? Basically, if you have to really tell about your daily schedule, how you're going to talk about it, how you're going to mention about it, like how the ways of working basically. So these are some of the things. Specifically, if we mention on the ways of working, it is going to help on both the fronts, as even the company will see that this is what the what way you are following. This is what we follow. So matching and really coming on a common front or a common ground is very important. So make sure to mention that yeah, I start my day at this, and then I do this, and this is how my daily responsibilities looks like. I really like to write the facts down. That's why I have a specific board in my room that where I mention those things that I really want to do, or a chit I just keep so that I know that this is going to-do list for me. So these are some of the ways of working that you can mention, that can show that how much hardworking you are, how much passionate you are about your work. So then further goes towards mainly, like as I said, practice, practice, practice. That is very, very important. So why these things comes in, as IT interviews are all about practical knowledge. So if you are stepping into an interview, for example, interview for a IT support or interview for a developer, so if you see specifically, you will be asked some question on the spot, which you have to really go for and present the solutions. For example, there are a lot of IT interviews where coding test is there. So that is where you're going to go. Coding test, work on the coding skills, work on the speed, practice that. And then problem solving component is another component which is there. So These are some of the things that are going to be there on the spot, and you have to make sure to solve it. So for that, what you can do, search over Google and check for practice questions specifically for the role that you are going to interview for. So there are a lot of resources that you're going to get, and make sure to practice all of them, at least if not all of them, some of them, as if sometimes it happens during the interview you will get the same question. So the duplication happens a lot. So in that duplication, you will be able to really quickly answer the questions if you have already worked on those kind of queries already. So be ready with those preparations. Search over to learn the practice question, as I said. Try and answer it on the spot. For example, if you're searching over Google and you have got some questions, try and answer those on the spot. If you're not able to do it, look for the answers and then be ready. Then your mind is prepared that okay, if you're being asked a question like this, you know what to answer. So practice in that way. Firstly, try on the spot. If you're not able to answer, look for answers. Check the answers. What are these? And then your mind is already prepared in a way that if you're being asked a question like that, you will be able to answer it. So this is how your brain works. This is how you have to really prepare for an interview, specifically into IT stream. A lot of things we have discussed about that what you are supposed to do and how you're going to do it. It all ends up to practice. Once you are like into that stream, talk to people a lot. So when you have to prepare for any interview, so specifically talk to the people who are there in the company already. That is going to give you a sense that how the interview process looks like, and you will be able to prepare in those terms. And there are a lot of interview processes already over Google. Just go ahead and you can search that. Search for the interview process, interview preparation, or maybe another thing is that the people who are there in the company already, they are going to give you a sense in terms of what you can prepare for. Talk to the recruiters. Talk to the recruiters. Okay, if this is the interview, what I should really prepare for, or what this interview is going to be all about. So these questions, and specifically for that company, some of the companies do post about their interview process also, and some people also post about the interview experience in that particular company. Search that over LinkedIn, read about it, so that you are already aware of what you are going to appear for. So these are some of the tips that will that I hope will help you for the preparation for interviews. So I wish you all the best for the interviews, and I hope you crack all of them. Thank you so much. Have a good day.